crisis at the VA exemplified a bureaucracy that was out of touch and hurting real people. As your congressman, I'm committed to making our government in Washington work better for you.
My name is David Brayton. I am an Air Force veteran. 10 years ago, my doctors told me that I had to have a double lung transplant. It was a massive uphill battle to get the VA to do what they said they were going to do in the first place. Finally, Steve Knight got involved, and if it wasn't for Steve Knight's assistance in this thing, I guarantee you I'd be dead. Steve Knight is a veteran, and he's LAPD on top of it. I'm voting for Steve Knight because he gets stuff done for us.
I'm Steve Knight, and I approve this message.
Hey there, it's Tori with your hometown station weather. Mostly sunny this week with highs in the low to mid 90s. Overnight lows in the mid to upper 60s. Summer is still kind of hanging around. For everything SCV related, go to hometownstation.com or check us out on social media. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at KHTS Radio.
Financial security will help you live the life you dream. Learn about financial power, the total financial hour. Now higher income strategy. Learn from Arif Halaby. Learn about financial power, the total financial hour. Now
Welcome to the show, the Total Financial Hour. I'm Arif Halaby, your place for news, talk, and information. This is AM 1220 KHTS, your hometown station. Hey, folks, listen, part of what we talk about is a retirement conversation that you should have been having. Look, let's face it, all of us should have been having conversations like this years ago for lots of reasons, not just because, oh, well, someday I'm going to retire or maybe not. It's because part of what you want to do is learn some choices and options that allow you to, as you grow, maybe even adjust your career, maybe even figure what it is that you want to do in life and looking at it and saying, you know what, I need to stay at this career because the pension is worth it. I need to stay in this career because the income, the retirement accounts, the security, financial security, it's worth it. Or just the opposite, right? You don't want to be in a job that you are forced to be in because you're just there for the benefits. I remember, some of you know that I spent nearly 11 years as a police officer. When I was in the police department, I remember I spent 6 months taking the test just to get hired. Went through all the background and the investigations, a little over 6 months. And then when I started the academy, it was another 6 months of the academy. So a year and a few days, weeks later, I'm sitting at my new job. I'm in the locker room. I'm 22 years old. I'm excited. And 3 or 4 lockers away from me to my right is an older guy with white hair. And he said, I have 92 days left before I am done with this at blankety blank job. I thought, oh my gosh. He says, I can't wait to retire. I hate this place. And I thought, oh my gosh, what did I just get myself into? The last year of my life, nearly 5%, right, of my life was spent trying to get into a place where this guy and others, he wasn't the only one, were trying to get out. And I thought, wow, what a tragedy for me to have spent my life doing this. Now, of course, like in any job, you're going to find people that like it and people that don't. But understand, when you have choices, financially speaking, you can have choices for the rest of your life.
And for many of us, thinking about retirement is this nebulous big thing that's way too far away. I'll worry about it later. And it can really mean we're focused on the now. We got the current problems of mortgage or car payment or whatever's going on. And retirement, oh, that's less of a priority. I'll deal with it later. And then sometimes later never comes. And suddenly it's staring in your face and you're like, uh-oh, I'm not ready.
That's right. You can get into a place where you realize, oh, I don't have enough money. Or sometimes you're fortunate. We had somebody recently, probably in the last 2 weeks, that said, hey, you know, I think I can retire. We said, well, I don't know. Let me see. She said, but I'm scared. I don't know if I have enough money. We did the math. We went through the formula, if you will. It was pretty simple. She had almost twice as much in income that she needed to retire coming in, and she would never have to work again a day in her life.
And income is what is sometimes overlooked by people, but really it's the most important thing. You're not spending the percentage of your growth or whatever your accounts or whatever did at the grocery store or your car payment or whatever. You got to spend dollars.
That's right. You're not spending interest rates. You're spending real dollars, guys.
Exactly. And when you think about it, that dollars, that bucket of money you've set up and saved for your whole life is designed to replace what you got from your job. And sure, you got the insurance maybe or other benefits of the job, but the real thing why most people go to work every day is for the income. And that has to be replaced by your whatever financial setup you've done, and the combination of a pension, Social Security, your personal savings. All of those different factors have to combine in order to make it, and that's what your retirement is.
Yeah, I think you realize that the bucket of dollars, whether it's from rental property, whether it is from Social Security, whether it's from a pension, those are different sources of revenue. I like it when they're not connected, right? What we have seen is when clients come to us with multiple sources of retirement income, they tend to have a healthier and a stronger retirement, meaning they can weather the storm if times get tough. They can weather the storm if the stock market is up or the stock market's down, or real estate market's up or real estate market, interest rates, etc. That's the last thing you want, is multiple sources of income yet coming from the same source, meaning everything's coming from the stock market or everything's coming from real estate. That's wonderful when things are good, but how much money will you really be spending in retirement? What if things go bad? I think you might be spending a little bit more than you actually thought. It may be worse than you think, meaning let's take a look. I think part of this is where we are spending money in retirement is going to be different. It's going to be a lot more down the world of Social Security receiving, but it's probably going to be rental property income with rental repairs. It might be Social Security income that you receive, but you're not receiving cost of living increases. So it's a lot today, but in the future it may not be. So consider that.
Right. And another factor that can change, you've got the promised number of whether it's $1,000 a month or $5,000 a month you're going to receive from the Social Security, and then you look online, you got the calculators and all the fancy stuff that says you will be earning X amount per month when you retire, depending on the age and all of that. And that really can make a difference as well, whether you retire at 62 or 70 and somewhere in between. But another way that they can sneakily hide the numbers and end up taking more from you than you thought they would is a lot of people don't realize Social Security is taxable.
That's right, it is. And it can be a big deal if you're counting on your income and you keep spending. Here's the biggest problem. For a lot of people, they say, oh, I make $10,000 a month. Well, all you're thinking is the net. That means the amount that you put in your bank account. But with the IRS, with the California Income Tax Franchise Tax Board, that's not the number they see. They see the $14,000 or $15,000 a month. So the reason that you're often confused and sometimes not even speaking the same language as the folks that are taking your money, it's because you're thinking about it as net, which is the amount that goes in your bank account, and they're thinking about it as gross, which is the amount that you are taxed on. So instead of you going, oh, yeah, no big deal. No, folks, this is a really big deal, because the higher bracket affects your tax return, right? If you're making $14,000 a month and you earn anything from any other source, even though you only put $10,000 in your bank account, that $14,000 a month in retirement or today or whenever is the reason that any new money that you make could be taxed at a much higher bracket. So you have to know that, because you're playing the game anyway. Listen, you've heard me say this. You are playing the game. You might as well know the rules, because enough people are playing the game that know the rules, and they're taking advantage of you. And they're not left or right or rich or poor, Republican or Democrat. In fact, most of them are government workers called IRS, Federal Tax Board. Your senator, your governor, your state representatives. That's who is that little sneaky formula. That's why it matters, because that's what they tax.
And some of this definitely comes from the fact that they made it more convenient for everyone by making the tax deductions and withdrawals, withholding, all of that. It's pretty much automatic. It happens in your paycheck. So you don't have the sense and feeling of writing the check each month or at the end of the year for what you actually paid in taxes. They all do that for you automatically in the back. The companies, the CPAs or accountants do it for you. And you end up having the number you take home. That's all you really see. It's what you tangibly feel. Everything else is kind of nebulous and out there, handled by someone else.
And that is important when you're doing your formula, when you're calculating, should I withhold taxes on my Social Security? Should I pay a little bit more from my pension? How much should I declare when I take money from my retirement accounts? All of that is subject to whether or not and what bracket you're stuck in. So make sure that if you're trying to build this, you meet with a professional called a CPA, or at least a tax preparer. Somebody who you could say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Tax Preparer person, last year, this is what we made. This is how much we paid in taxes. This is what we're going to make this year. How much should we withhold? So I don't want you to get back a big amount. I don't want you to owe a big amount. So many times you guys come to our office and you'll say, oh, Arif, I have a great tax person. I said, oh, really? They said, yeah, I get $10,000 a year back in taxes.
That's called an interest-free loan to the government?
That's right. It isn't. They didn't give you the money. And sometimes, I love my CPA friends, but sometimes they act as if they're giving you their own money. Look at what I got you. You're like, you're the best. And in some cases, most of the time maybe, they're just filling out forms. Name, address, how much did you make? Did you write off your car? Did you use it for business, your cell phone, etc.? So they should be doing that, and they are doing things like that. But then don't expect them to. They're not giving you your own money back, right? It's the government that's giving you the money back. And it isn't coming with any interest. So did you pay interest anywhere this year? Car, house, credit card? Did you pay interest anywhere? If you did, then you've lost on that side. Did you get a tax refund? Yes. Well, the government isn't giving you any interest, so you've lost on that side. Now do you know why poor people are poor? Poor people are broke, not because they're dumb or bad. It's because they are playing the game and they have the wrong scoreboard. They think it's a good idea to get a lot of money back. Okay, just ask your tax preparer. Hey, if I receive $12,000 in a refund, why don't you just adjust my withholdings and stuff so I receive $1,000 a month back? And just so you know, that's after-tax money. That's in your pocket, right? Because if you would have received 12, now you receive. Now, what are you not going to do? Next April, you're not going to receive a check for $12,000, so don't use it for I use it for my property tax every year. Really? So you pay property tax with money that you did not earn interest on. Well, it's just easier, Arif. It's just a headache. Okay, so you're willing to be broke because you want other people to manage your funds. Look, this isn't an easy conversation. But I think somebody has to tell you, because usually your parents are broke. Right? They're good people, but they might be school teachers. They might be MBAs, PhDs. But if they don't know how to handle money, it doesn't matter what their grade level is. Right? It's a very simple test. Are you receiving a tax refund? Right? If you are, you probably are doing something. Now listen, $100, $2,000, $3,000. I'm okay with with 100 to 200. Get past the 500 to 1,000, and I have a problem with that. That's my issue. Follow me on that?
Makes sense. And part of this you got to be careful with your long-term planning when it comes to taxes is we don't know what the tax situation is going to be when you retire. Unless you're retiring this year, and it's probably not a whole lot's going to change in the next 12 months, but some of the big tax plan that was just passed to the end of last year, a lot of that's set to sunset and expire in the next 10 or so years. Other parts of it, we've all seen different people, mostly from one political party, saying they're going to end the tax cuts and fair and rich people and poor and whatever, if they're going to change it when they get in power, which is statistically going to happen at some point in the next decade, 20 years, 10, 20 years, when are you retiring? If you're retiring outside of that, things can be very different when it comes to the taxes, and it's hard to have a concrete plan that this is how it's going to happen when you don't know.
And that is helpful because planning is sometimes out of your control. Now, except for the state of California, the federal government, federal systems, generally work slower, meaning there's a proposal, there's a discussion with the Senate, discussion with the House, they come together. So sometimes a new change, a big change, is weeks, if not months, in the works, maybe even years. The state of California, though, tends to be really sneaky with things because they own every majority from the top to the bottom, right? Governor, lieutenant governor, state senate, state assembly, it's all one political party. Like them or not, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. But they have no opposition. So they create wacky rules like, hey, there's no more bail. Really? I guess bad guys just say, hey, I really promise to show up this time. What? You already let people out of prison. You already raised taxes on the gas tax. You've already done things that are going to affect me personally. Because when people leave the state of California, the amount of folks that are paying taxes reduces. However, when poor people and illegal aliens come in from the bottom, then there's a greater amount of need for services for people that are not paying for those services. So now you have a greater amount of people on the bottom, fewer people on the top. Last I heard, we had North Face. North Face. Have you heard of that company? Great big liberal. Want to spend your money. I think they moved their headquarters. In fact, I want to say they moved it, I'll find out here in just a sec, to Colorado. Moving to the Denver area. North Face has moved all of its California operations, and North Carolina for that matter, to Denver. So if they're moving, why would they do that? They're fairly liberal, right? They hug a tree, plant a tree, eat vegan, whatever their story is. But with them moving jobs, 650 jobs out of California. Do you think they're doing that because we don't give enough to homeless people and to welfare and we're not sheltering more illegal immigrants? Or do you think they're moving and taking 650 good paying jobs out of the state because they think, oh, maybe we're just taxed too much. Maybe it seems like we're out of control. Maybe it's no longer liberals running the organization, but far lefty people, progressives. When all of a sudden you have something like that happening, then a dollar is a dollar is a dollar. And organizations choose where they're going to send that money. And that's why in Seattle, when they said, oh, we're going to tax all of these big companies extra money. All right. Who fought back? Starbucks, right? Who fought back? Amazon, Apple. All of these companies that are wonderfully proud to take your tax money for some sort of social program. But when it comes to them spending their own money, they say, oh, it's not fair. Oh, we're not going to pay more. Arif, what does that have to do with me? Very simply, there are less people working. They're going to pay for all of these programs. We are already listening to, we have a $60 billion surplus. Not true. Oh, but Arif, you don't know. Doesn't exist. There is no surplus. They refinance debt. They just have more debt. It's like you saying, hey, Arif, I made $15,000 more this year on my income. Oh, great. Well, that's good. Yeah, but we refinanced $25,000 in credit card debt, and we put it into one payment. We put it into our house. We have a home equity line of credit. So do you see? I still made $15,000 more. No. You still have $25,000 in debt that you're not paying for. It's off to the side. Wells Fargo and others took money from you in the housing crisis. They foreclosed, in some cases, at nearly 500 homes a day. 500 homes a day fraudulently taken in numerous scams. Well, folks were awarded money. Finally, it took a long time, but we got it. The right folks sued. Bad guys lost. If you were taken in a fraudulent foreclosure, and I had a friend that this happened to. They were getting ready to go out to dinner for his wife's birthday, and they get a knock on the door. And it's a guy who says, "I now own your house. I'm going to give you 48 hours to move." Excuse me? Yep. So when we come back from our break, I'm going to share with you this $300 million or so. I'll get the exact number here in just a second. It's about $300 million that you're supposed to receive from the state of California when we come back. You're listening to me, Arif Halaby, the Total Financial Hour. That's Logan Halaby, my son, on your place for news, talk, and information, the Total Financial Hour on your hometown station, AM 1220, KHTS.
The Santa Clarita Artists Association is hosting our annual gala, the Art Classic, Saturday, September 29th from 1:30 to 5 p.m. This fundraiser highlights professionally judged original artwork by local artists in all mediums. For only $25, you can enjoy live music, wine, hors d'oeuvres, and meet the artists in person. The Art Classic will be held at Hart Hall in Hart Park. All artwork will be on display for free public viewing Sunday, September 30th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. For tickets and more information, visit us at santaclaritaartists.org.
Healthcare can be difficult if you're underinsured or have Medi-Cal. Samuel Dixon Family Health Center can help. Services are available on a sliding fee schedule. The mission of the Samuel Dixon Family Health Center is to give the Santa Clarita Valley access to affordable, quality primary care. There are 3 locations to serve you: Canyon Country, Newhall, and Valverde. Go to sdfhc.org for more information and to find the location most convenient for you.
Hi, this is Kirk Stinson with Plumbing by Kirk, your hometown plumber. By this time, you should know where all your gas and water shutoff valves are in case of an emergency. If you don't, you should call Plumbing by Kirk. Our friendly staff will be more than happy to set an appointment for one of our technicians to come to your home and clearly mark all your shutoff valve locations. We invite you to visit our website for free plumbing advice at plumbingbykirk.com or give us a call, 263-6519. That's 263-6519.
My dad is the best plumber ever. Call Plumbing by Kirk.
Vargo Physical Therapy is a leading provider of rehabilitation treatment for sports and industrial injuries, as well as post-operative and age-related conditions. Vargo Physical Therapy patients have access to the best high-tech and most effective rehabilitation equipment. With locations in Canyon Country and Valencia, Vargo Physical Therapy has been serving the Santa Clarita Valley for over 15 years. Go to vargopt.com. Vargo Physical Therapy helps you get back in the game.
Marston's Restaurant has been a Pasadena landmark, voted the best breakfast in California by the Food Network magazine. Discover Marston's Santa Clarita location, open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Marston's also has a fantastic catering menu that adds a delicious twist to any event. And they cater picnic dinners for that memorable romantic date. Experience Marston's on Newhall Ranch Road and McBean, or log on to marstonsrestaurant.com.
Santa Clarita's hometown station.
Now FM 98.1 FM and AM 1220. Your hometown station.
Financial security will help you live the life you dream. Learn about financial power, the Total Financial Hour. Now higher income strategy. Learn from Arif Halaby. Learn about financial power, the Total Financial Hour. Now Arif has a plan.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. I'm Arif Halaby on your place for news, talk, and information. AM 1220, FM 98.1. This is Logan. I'm Arif. We're talking about your family's finances. Look, a little bit ticked off today because we just found out this last week that California has been ordered to restore $331 million to fund for homeowners that were taken in scams. But instead, Jerry Brown and the state Democrats used the money for other things, as if it was theirs. And they don't even say sorry. They don't even say thank you. Many thousands were kicked out of their homes. And Jerry Brown and Democratic lawmakers siphoned off that money to pay for housing, other things for themselves, their friends, their colleagues, cronies. I think there's going to be a day when somebody does an investigation and find out that Gavin Newsom, Jerry Brown, Kevin De Leon, and these folks really have hosed you guys as voters. It's really ridiculous. So that money's now gone forever if they take it, because the state can't afford to pay it back. If they were to say, we fixed the pension system, we're going to make sure that we promised money that we promised to people. We are going to promise to make sure that they're done. No problem. I got it. We're going to fix it. So we're going to use this housing money to fund the pension system, and we're done. We're not going to make the same mistakes again. We've got safeguards in place. We've got the right people. Okay. That you can show a nexus or a connection between messing up and keeping people's homes by giving them the pension that was promised. Because the pension system is about $400 million upside down right now, just for the state, by the way. $400 billion. Sorry, $400 billion. It's close. So at least it's a start. Ready? Several groups have sued the state to return the funds. And instead, Governor Jerry Brown and the lawmakers are pursuing ways to keep the money to avoid the court order. And it was a fund created to help victims. That's important because for most of you, you don't even realize that this was happening. And this is a big deal. Because as California is taking money from legitimate victims, those of you that were foreclosed upon without the proper system in place, when banks like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Countrywide, Chase, they just decided they were going to make their own rules along the way, and they did. And they hurt a lot of people. So I think if you're going to choose to stay in the state of California, you have to be prepared for higher taxes. I was with somebody over the weekend, and he inherited his mom's house. In fact, he's a relative, and I used to go over there when we were really little, so I remember the house forever. His property taxes are $1,600 a year. The house is about $1 million house, over $1 million. $1,600 a year in property taxes. Now, he's 50 years old. So chances are between he and his wife, they're going to live a long time. 30, 40, maybe 50 years. And then you have other people, yours truly, who can pay nearly $1,000 a month in property taxes. Now, okay, I get the whole Prop 13, right? My parents are great beneficiaries of it. But I think that's the only place you're going to find the money. Because people retire and take their pensions. Companies leave and take the jobs. If people are buying things online or out of state or just not buying things at all in the state of California except what they need, then your sales tax revenue is going to have to go up. So you're going to have to charge. So who's left? What's left? It's property tax. When you go and register your car, you're going to see a registration fee. Oh, that's pretty good. It's reasonable. And then a licensing fee. What the heck? What is that? What's the difference?
Didn't licensing, wasn't that included in the registration?
Yeah, they just make up air. Next, it's going to be the formulation fee, transfer rubber to road fee, transformation fee. That's what the next. In order to raise funds, they're not going to raise your registration. They're just going to raise the transformation of rubber to the road fee.
Well, with the gas tax, that's not affecting which industry? What kind of cars? The electrics.
That's right.
So that now they're realizing that they're going towards a miles driven tax or fee or something like that is what I've been hearing people talk about.
Listen, they were supposed to take the registration fee under Governor Gray Davis. It was designed to fix the roads and pay for highway patrol and pay for Caltrans. That's why we had higher taxes. Schwarzenegger comes in, a feckless politician and really human being, gets into office, knows nothing about how to structure, and then caves. And then the Democrats run roughshod over him, and he does whatever he says. We get massive tax increases, and we're right back to where we started. But he loved the power. He loved being on the patio, the covered patio, smoking a cigar outside of the governor's mansion, his executive office. Meanwhile, the left ran circles around him. California Appellate Court has made Governor Brown to return $330 million from the state's general fund. Do you realize he just put it in the general fund? He's like, okay, more money. How much? 10 for you, 40 for you, 20 for you, for pet projects.
And that's how they got the surplus. Huh.
What a joke, you guys. And it's supposed to go to a settlement fund, distressed homeowners in the wake of a foreclosure crisis. It is not supposed to go to the governor. So if you're one of those folks that got taken in the scam or weren't real clear on what happened, right? Thousands were kicked out of their homes, and it took a lot of it to return the money. My point is, Henry Stern voted for actually I think he voted a present. He did what President Obama did when he was in the House, in the Senate, the U.S. Senate. Present, right? They do that on purpose so that they don't have a track record. So you cannot go back and say he voted yes on this or no on that. In other words, they don't have a backbone, right?
No accountability.
Listen, I don't agree with Congressman Steve Knight, folks. I want you to know that. On everything. I don't agree with my wife, and I'm married to her on everything. Right? It's a matter of, do you agree with somebody 51% versus 49, 60 versus 40, 80 versus 20, whatever. Who you agree with more. I don't expect any person to vote how I would unless I was in office. Congressman Knight, I think he does about 1,000 votes a year, right? Various types of voting. I'm thinking there's a few big issues that matter to me. So far, he's 100% voting proper the way I see. But when they take money from people that it belongs, you have to plan. So think twice if you're going to retire in the state of California. One of the things that I see over and over again, you have to look at 2 or 3 times the scenario of moving out of the state of California. Right now we have about 360 people a day move out of the state. In fact, try to rent a U-Haul truck, I think it's U-Haul, from California to Dallas, Los Angeles to Dallas, I think was the number. It's about $3,800. But from Dallas to Los Angeles, it's about $1,600. Because they pay people to drive empty trucks back. And if you're coming this way, you get a huge discount.
Because they need the trucks in this state. And that's where
They do. If you don't have a truck, you can't sell it. So people don't, look, I understand we have great weather. I love the weather here. Most of the time, right? But there's pretty good weather in all sorts of places as well. Right? You have places that matter to you. What is the one thing you deal with all the time? When clients come to us, they say the one thing I deal with all the time is the weather. Second is family. You want your family close. But the weather is something you deal with all the time. That's why people leave Boston and upstate Michigan and North Dakota. That's why they come to below the 34th parallel, 33rd parallel. And that's where weather is a little bit more mild. You're still going to get 4 seasons in a lot of places, but you're not going to be stuck with the harshness. So if you're considering moving and relocating, especially if you're going to be in a colder temperature, heat, the cost of heat is not cheap. You have to know, is it heating oil? Are we using propane? Are we using electricity? I was visiting a place recently, and they have a power plant that runs off of a river that's close to it. And this power plant that runs off the river generates electricity. So when I looked at a house, I'm in there with a friend, and he's looking at buying a place, and I said, hey, well, that's interesting. What is this? He said, oh, it's an electric stove. Oh, it's electric heater. You guys don't have natural gas? Oh, we use propane for some things, but electricity for everything else because it's so inexpensive, because right down the way we have our own generator. It's called the river, right? It's a turbine thing. So there's some balance there that you can see, okay, I'm going to live in a hotter area or a colder area. If you're in the desert, you're going to have the air conditioning running 24/7, right? That happens a lot. We see time and again where people are making choices, and those choices are built around family and weather. But don't forget, sometimes there's some expenses. Your son lives in Seattle, your daughter in San Francisco, your other son in Denver, you might have a chance to move in a place that is a little bit simpler of a life, less weather. And keep a vacation property here. Keep a vacation property at the beach. Keep a vacation property in Santa Clarita.
And when you say vacation property, it's not necessarily go buy a place next to the beach. You can use your existing residence as the quote-unquote vacation place.
Yeah, that becomes your new part-time residence.
As long as you're not here more than 6 months.
Yeah, there's a rule. I want you to check with your CPA on that number, because sometimes it's 6 months and a day. Sometimes it's just where you lay your hat, meaning where you call home. So your residency establishment is if you have your car license there, if you have a job there, if you have your registration on your home is a primary residence, right? Because there's a way to homestead a house in some places. So it could be all sorts of things where your new registration is now considered home.
And all of this with leaving the state doesn't mean you can never come back. With either to a vacation place or when you want to be here during the winter, when in Montana during the rest of the year, or that kind of setup. Whatever works for you, and really picking what you want for the weather doesn't have to mean you're stuck with it forever.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a few things happen. You're going to see a lot of corrections across the board because things happen very slowly and then all of a sudden, right? People go bankrupt very slowly and then all of a sudden. It's just like the stock market. Goes up and down, up and down. It goes down rather quickly. It takes a long time to go up. We start seeing some little signs. Oh, it's fine. Oh, it's fine. And then when it drops, it kind of drops all of a sudden, and people can't get out of the way. So those kinds of things happen with the state as well. Right? I think the state of California is near bankruptcy. There's no question, in fact, if it's just the numbers. The only reason they're still in business is because somebody's giving them another credit card. Oh, right? You might have maxed out 6 cards, but here's 3 more. Oh, we'll let you refinance those other 6 into one payment. You say, oh, that's pretty good. Rates are low, I'll take that payment. So for a lot of folks, the surplus in the state of California is just a game. It's not real. And I think we need to know that as the case.
And the reason all this is important is if you're relying on the state for factors with your retirement, now this is obviously a major thing if your retirement pension is coming from the government, if you are CalSTRS, CalPERS, if you're working for the state or county or teacher, but it affects you in a lot of other ways too, from them having to raise the taxes and your retirement was looking like a pretty juicy target to those who need more money for the state, to all the fees and taxes being put onto the car registration and to all the general costs of living and goods. If that's going to continue to go up from the pressure with the taxes, suddenly you might be priced out of the state, even if you had thought you had planned perfectly.
As of January 10, 2017, right, so about a year and a half ago, actually, a little more than that, California's total state and local debt equals $1.3 trillion, with a T, trillion dollars. Now that's equivalent to the student loan debt, plus or minus. Take $1 billion, give $1 billion.
And it's weird to think that $1 billion is just a rounding error when you get to this size.
Yeah, 1.3 trillion is like, did I say 10 million, 4 million, 6, whatever it is. So $1.3 trillion. So when the governor tries to say, oh, you guys, we have a budget surplus, it's not true. It's just not true. We have, just because you can refinance your debt or get a new credit card, or the car dealership will still give you a car loan, it doesn't mean that you don't have issues, financially speaking. It doesn't mean that you can't, in some cases, go back. Look, the biggest issue I have with the California budgets and the debt are, in my world, it affects our clients, is the pension system. You see, they promised you a certain amount of money. You took less pay over the years in many cases so that you could have the guarantees of better health insurance coverage or retirement income. That was the trade-off. So you did your part. You worked 15, 20, 30, 40 years. And now you get to the place and you say, okay, where's my money? And they say, oh, the last two administrations, they really messed it up. So we're sorry. Don't forget that. We're sorry. And we think that we're going to give you about 60% of what you were expecting.
And this is happening for people with corporate pensions, too. We had a client recently who worked for one of the airlines and just retired about a year ago. And they, being the company, did all the math and said, this is what your pension's going to be. You're going to take home, how much was it per month? Was what they promised originally?
They originally promised, in his case, $11,670 a month. And he said right now he's planning on getting around $3,000, less than $3,000. He said it's like $2,600 or something.
All
per
because,
month.
Yeah. So he's getting a quarter of what he was promised, basically because they made a problem. They say sorry. He's left trying to figure out how to live with a quarter or a third of what he was promised.
You have the pension plan for teachers has grown. The debt just for the teacher plan is $11 billion just for the CalSTRS. So altogether, that's extra. So altogether, they're facing a debt of about $107 billion between the cost of pensions promised to teachers and the money currently set aside. Now, why does this matter? Because the teacher's pension system is about 63% funded. So that means if right now they went to you as an educator and they said, you are going to receive 63% of your pay that was promised to you in retirement, meaning if you worked and you made $9,000 a month, but we promised you $6,000 as an educator, if you get about $4,000 a month, you're great. The pension system will. I know we promised you $6,000, but you can only get about $3,800, let's say.
And the alternative is sue them and see what the courts figure out.
Yep, sue them and say sorry. So what's going to happen is the far left, the progressives, are going to go after anybody who still is here with a job, any businesses, any companies, any quote rich people. Now you have to always ask the definition, because everybody says let's go after the rich. I'm like, yeah, let's go after the rich. Let's get them. Let's get the rich. And you say, let's go get them, and you're running down the street and you realize people are chasing you because you're the one who's making $180,000 or $250,000. But you say, but you don't understand here. If I live in the valley, you know how difficult it is with 2 kids in private school and a car payment. I get it. But according to the folks in Sacramento, you're the rich guy. Why do you think you're at the highest taxes in the country for a state? Because they think you're rich. If you're a school teacher and your spouse is a police officer, you understand they consider you rich. If you're a nurse and your spouse works for the city as a mid-level manager, nothing too big, nothing too small, city or the county, doesn't matter. Because they've been there long enough, they've worked, they've deserved it, they've promoted. A nurse and a state, city, county worker, you're considered rich. So every time they invent these rules, you're like, get the rich. You're like, listen, I work 40, 50 hours a week, so I can't be rich. Must be that guy over there. That's the trade-off. All right, we're going to be back in just a minute as we continue with your place for news, talk, and information. This is your hometown station, AM 1220, FM 98.1, KHTS.
Finding the right auto body shop can feel like a never-ending search.
It's more than a job, it's a hobby.
Caesar, owner of Body Shop 661, your one-stop body shop.
Out here in Santa Clarita, I like seeing my cars driving around. It's really a passion.
More than just repairs. Body Shop 661, trusted, reliable, respected for over 16 years in the Santa Clarita Valley. Visit bodyshop661.com or give them a call, 661-251-2252.
Did you know that SCVI has the only international baccalaureate program in our community? That means that students at Santa Clarita Valley International Public Charter School can participate in very rigorous classes run by highly trained and skilled international teachers. They work with kids to become active, compassionate, and lifelong learners. Students with IB diplomas at select colleges can graduate with a full year credit at their university. Schedule a tour today online at scvi-k12.org or by calling 705-4820.
City of Hope is a world leader in cancer research and treatment, and there's a City of Hope community practice location right here in Santa Clarita, eliminating a major barrier in the fight against cancer: distance to quality care. Santa Clarita benefits from City of Hope's compassionate care and renowned clinical expertise. Find out more at cityofhope.org/Santa Clarita or call 661-799-1999.
Santa Clarita's hometown station.
Now FM 98.1 FM and AM 1220. Your hometown station.
Financial security will help you live the life you dream. Learn about financial power, the total financial hour. Now higher income strategy. Learn from...
Welcome back to the show as we finish up this hour of the programs. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Arif Halaby. That's Logan. A Total Financial Hour on your place for news, talk, and information. We are talking about retirement. Look, some of the things I want you to realize. I understand, everybody wants to be happy, and life is good, and, singing songs as we skip down the street. But this is a real issue, and it's a real issue for lots of reasons, because your family's finances, when you retire, you can't go back to the same job. You can go get another job, and those jobs are great, and you can do it, and you're going to have a good time, but you won't make the kind of money you did when you were at a career for 25 or 35 years. Right? It's different. Greeting at the front store, stocking shelves, working in a resort community, right? We have clients that drive, they love their bus. They have a very expensive motorhome, and they act as a camp host, right? Their motorhome costs more than 5 of my first homes, the first home that I bought, right? But he says, listen, I want to stay active, so they act as a camp house, meaning host. He chops wood, she greets people at the front desk. They do it 10 hours a week or something, and they get to stay for free. Nice.
And that kind of thing is great, but it certainly doesn't pay as well as his previous job, whether it was an engineer, a teacher, whatever it was.
He was an engineer. And so you can have that lifestyle where you say, hey, listen, I want to stay busy. I like to work. So his time is still taken up, but he's just not being compensated the same. So that means you're counting on your pension, you're counting on your retirement accounts to fill that gap. So that's what we do. Our job is to fill the gap with some of those retirement accounts when the time is right. Hey, Arif, I'm going to need income in 5 years. Hey, Arif, I want to turn on income in 7 or 10. That's great. That's what we do. Here's a big example. Logan had brought this up to me here. I'll even let you tell me about it here, Logan, because the story is a survey was done when people are about ready or in the middle of getting ready to retire in the next few years, and they asked them a few questions.
So this study was looking at people from hundreds of people, all different ages, income, where they live. Basically, pretty diverse group trying to look at a representative sample of the U.S. And they basically interviewed them on different retirement things. Most people gave the answer that they were expecting to need about 70 to 80% of their income when they're working for retirement to maintain that same lifestyle. And ballpark, that's kind of what most people think of as the conventional wisdom is 70 to 80% of your income is what you need in retirement. But based on what these people want to be able to do in retirement, with different entertainment activities and going out to eat, vacations, all of that, the actual number that they needed for their compared to their income was about 130%.
Okay, so let's get this straight. They're making $100,000 a year. They're expecting to spend, when I retire, I'll spend $70,000 a year.
Correct.
But in reality, based on what they said, how they want to live, what they want to do, the cars they want to drive, the places they want to go, it actually came in at how much?
$130,000 per year for their entire retirement, essentially.
So they basically had $70,000 or $80,000 set aside for retirement, and yet they plan on spending
double.
This is pretty scary, you guys, because for a lot of people, they're not real clear on the reasons when they retire what they're going to use the money for. Because it doesn't matter if you have $100,000 or $200,000 or $500,000 in a lump sum. If the job of it is to be there like a savings account, hi, send me $10,000, hey, send me $30,000, no problem. Then that's the job. Send me the money whenever you got it. But if the job is for the money to create an income stream, a machine that kicks out money, like Social Security kicks out money each and every month, like your pension would kick out money each and every month. So those types of buckets of dollars, those accounts, the purpose is to give you a monthly income stream, then you're kind of boxed into a corner, meaning don't expect to have a guarantee that's going to give you another $70,000 in income when you're expecting to make $70,000 altogether, right?
And it sounds counterintuitive at first, but when you think about it, when you're working and you're 40, 50 hours a week, whatever's going on, how much money can you spend when you're at work?
Yeah.
And you're getting paid.
Yeah, that's right. Unless you're doing the shopping at the holiday Christmas time.
Right.
on your company computer, right? You're probably not shopping at work.
Don't tell the boss, but
yeah.
How much money do you spend on a Saturday or on a Sunday?
That's what it's like, isn't it?
What happens when you have 5 more weekend days every week?
Statistically speaking, Saturday is the day of the week that you spend the most amount of money. Not Monday, not Tuesday, not Sunday, but Saturday. That means retailers across the country on Saturday receive as much as half of the week's sales in one day. Some more. Well, now that euphoric, that the gates or floodgates are open, that feeling of freedom, because Sunday, Monday is so far away, is now 5 or 6 or 7 days a week, statistically speaking. So people start spending money that they don't have, acting as if it's another Saturday and another Saturday. In fact, ask a lot of retirees, they lose track of the day, because certainly because they're working. Unless you have a hair appointment, you're picking up something from the pharmacy, or you have a doctor's appointment. For a lot of retirees, life is just about hanging out. And you've heard me talk about purpose before. Purpose doesn't just make it so that you are busy with your time, so that you feel involved, but it's so that you feel important and you're making money and you're not spending money to fill the feelings of importance. You're not spending money to feel the void of the high of having somebody say thank you or you helped me out today. So when people will spend money, they do it for all sorts of reasons. Money that they don't have in some cases. If it's money you have, I don't care. Spend it the way you want. The problem comes in when you're 68, 72, 90 years old and you say, hey, Arif, I've run out of money. Or like the high school principal, he had $50,000 to his name. And he said, Arif, I need this to be $4,000 a month. I said, well, that's fine. You can do it for a year, but I can't take the account. There's no way I can get you $4,000 a month. Well, Arif, my pension is $4,000 a month, and I make $8,000, and I want an extra $4,000. Well, then you're going to have to get a job. I'm not working. Can you work another 5 years? Nope. All right, sir. Well, I can't help you with this account. You're going to have to figure it out with someplace else. Go to Vegas. I don't know. Do something, because it's going to be gone in a year no matter what.
At that point, he's got better odds just going to Vegas.
Yeah, it's never going to happen. Don't take that kind of risk with your retirement account with the markets, but maybe Vegas is better for you. So I want you to see the purpose is for you to realize that your money and your job is tied to the political atmosphere, and you are the person who is going to be paying the price. These programs, if they're not addressed sooner, if the state, if the federal government doesn't stop spending money, then you will be the person on the other end of that purse strings. All right? So be very careful. I always want you to pay attention. You can go to tfswealth.com. Stands for Total Financial Solutions. tfswealth.com. I'm Arif Halaby. That's Logan on your place for news, talk, and information. KHTS.
KHTS, AM 1220 and 98.1 FM Santa Clarita. It's 1 o'clock. Time for national news on KHTS.
I'm Mike Moss. The White House is dismissing critical accounts in a new book from Bob Woodward as fabricated stories from disgruntled former employees. And Chief of Staff John Kelly